What's up guys, it's Taken here, and as I already promised you guys, here's the video about the new T4 Trinkets that came out. So basically I will buff the stats to the limit with these trinkets, but before you guys gonna see that, I will give you a quick overview about the trinkets and a review whether I think they are useful or in what situations they are. And as always, check it out. Here we go, so the basics at first. The trinket recipes can be bought at the usual places, and what I really like is the fact that they are purchasable through gold and not souls. So when considering that all the T4 armor recipes already cost like 8 to 9k souls overall when buying every part, I think it would be even more ludicrous than it already is if you would buy these through souls as well. Alright, so for each trinket and accessory part you want to craft, you need 3 unknown tomorrow, trinket, necklace and so on. Furthermore, you need 15 essence of epoch as well as 30 pieces of any powerful material, and it depends on what class you're or the trinket you wanna craft. Okay, so there are 5 different trinkets available, and basically one is meant for one class. The trinket itself gives a huge buff on a single stat or a value like healing power, but however, you should keep in mind that it's lasting for 15 seconds only, which means that you should use these buffs thoughtful and not like just at the beginning of any combat. Another important fact is that you should keep in mind that the new T4 trinkets, but not only them, also this goes for the T4 accessories, that they are unique equipped parts, so it means that you can only have one part of these equipped at a time, so you can't have 2 trinkets at the same time on yourself. Alright, so let's start buffing the stats. Starting with the tank T4 trinket, and this trinket gives an additional 575 stamina, which is almost 6k more HP for the time it lasts. So the tank you can see over here is Shadek, and when checking out the amount of stamina and HP he got, it's just amazing. So I mean, having like 5.4k stamina and an overall of 100k HP is just awesome. So, for example, when using a vigil right at the moment you got 100k HP, this means that you get a restore of 4.5k HP every second through the vigil, for example. And in any dungeons or PvP, it was just amazing. So it makes you almost invincible as a tank. Okay, next one. Here I'm on my healer Fate and got the trinket for the healer, which gives you 1200 more healing power when activated. And now let's get started with stacking the basic trinkets and equipment buffs. And now after activating the trinket, you can see that I got 9.3k healing power, which is just a lot. I mean, the restore I put on myself was like 4.3k healing every time, and this is just a lot. So next trinket here is Matrice Trinket, and this one gives you a buff on your spell power by buffing the spell power for 700, And this is a lot since Mage's spell power in general is really low, although the damage is high. And special thanks going to Poseidon over here, because he tried a lot to buff his stats until he reached this amazing amount of spell power and sent me a screenshot. So he got 5.2k spell power through the trinket, which is just a freaking lot. I mean, 5.2k spell power, it's just amazing as a mage, so the DPS you deal is just intense. Alright. Last and least stats that I'm going to buff to the limit are my archer stats. Here are my archer lost, and I got the trinket for increasing your agility by another 575, which is pretty much considering the gain of attack power an archer gets by that. Well, first I stack up the trinkets here, and when using the trinket now, it's just crazy how much agility you got. So I almost got 3800 agility over here, and when checking what amount of attack power this means, it's just crazy what the trinkets do to your stats. So I got more than 10,000 attack power here, which is just insane as in DPS. So I don't know what snipe it would mean, because I didn't try out, but having more than 10,000 attack power is just crazy. Well, after I showed you guys what crazy stats you can reach by the new T4 trinkets, here's my review about the trinkets in general. So you might now think that the trinkets are just amazing, the best that you can get. But when considering these trinkets for general use, there are some really significant things that you must keep in mind before you think that they are the best. And first is that the buff itself lasts only 15 seconds, which means that the use of the buff must be prepared and that you need to get everything out of your gameplay within these 15 seconds of the high buff. The second thing is that the cooldown of the trinkets is really high, and even too high, I think, because 3 minutes and more means that in arena you will only use these once, and afterwards they're kinda useless compared to other trinkets, which I will explain later. And furthermore, in dungeons you might be able to use it once or maybe twice at a whole boss fight, and which I think is nothing compared to a permanent buff through other trinkets. Third point is that in general the stats are good, but for sure not the best you can get. And keeping in mind that, for example, as an archer, the Reborn Evil Spirits trinket will give you 410 attack power permanently when in combat, while the T4 trinket gives you only 160 attack power permanently, plus around 1.2k attack power as an archer for 15 seconds, but this is only once every 3 minutes, so the damage loss at a boss fight where you hit permanently is huge. So in these cases the trinkets even appear weak and shouldn't be considered as too useful, and that is why I personally don't give up any permanent trinket buff for a short temporary buff that I can get to through the T4 trinket, which can only be enabled every 3 minutes. But however, so the situations I recommend to use the T4 trinkets are PvP, cause you might get a big advantage of hitting high DPS for a few seconds, and you can put the enemies or the healer under pressure. Short boss fights, so like farming AGL where the boss won't live any longer than 30 seconds though. The solo trial, cause the fights there don't take that long too. And duels, cause when you may be close to killing the healer or any other enemy and then get an extra DPS buff, you can win with a higher chance. So situations where I do not recommend using the T4 trinkets are long PvP fights and especially open PvP, because the short buffing you get once is not granting any advantage towards a permanent DPS buff. Long boss fights and dungeon fights, because when considering CSL or EDL where you need more than 5 minutes for sure for the boss, a single buff on you, which gives you more DPS for a few seconds, is far worse than having a permanent DPS buff of like 300 attack power, which in a long fight will mean just more DPS that you deal to the boss. Alright guys, that's it. I hope I could give you a quick review about the trinkets and what you may get out of your stats through them. However, as always, keep in mind that these are my suggestions and opinions, so they are based on my experience and gameplay, and maybe you think they are more useful in some situations than I thought. So just tell me what you think and put your thoughts about the trinket, suggestions and maybe useful ways of using them better in the comments. Message me anywhere you want, or as you know, whatever. So stay tuned for upcoming videos. I hope I see you guys in the next one. This is Taken here, and stay tuned.